The new era of Baltimore Ravens football was officially introduced today, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time is when we had the Ravens introductory press conference for new head coach Jesse Minter. I watched every single second of it so you guys don't have to. And today, I'm going to give you my 5 biggest takeaways from that presser, 5 things that really stood out to me for what your new head coach Jesse Minter had to say. Look, if you're excited about this new era of Baltimore Ravens football, do me one big favor, hit that thumbs up button and like today's video. I am sure that a lot of people were more excited or are more excited after that press conference than they were going into it. I was excited going into it, but now I cannot wait. My biggest takeaways, number 1, Jesse Minter confirmed today that he plans on calling defensive plays in the 2025-2026 NFL season and beyond. And I thought he had a really, really cool quote about that. He said, look, I think that's a strength of mine. I think that's why I'm sitting here. But I also think it's my leadership qualities, and I have a really good process to do what I need to do to be ready to call the game. But I also have the ability to be the head coach and impact the entire roster. And I assumed that this was going to be what ended up happening. Like, I assumed from the second they hired Jesse Minter that he was going to call the defense because perfectly like he said, it's the reason that he's sitting there in the first place. If he would not have had dominant defenses over the past couple of years in Los Angeles, and the past couple of years before that in Michigan, and the year before that in Vanderbilt, he would not be a head coach right now. But he did. And he is. So he's not going to change up anything. And nor should he. First in points in 2024, 9th in points in 2025, 11th in total yards his first year, 5th in total yards his second. 8th in rushing yards his second year. That was a step up from 14th the year prior. Passing yards stepped up from 7th to 5th. Not only is he improving from one year to the next, but he's remaining in the top 10 in almost every single one of those categories. And I cannot wait to see his fingerprints all over this defense and all over these players. Okay, I think 3 players will be the biggest benefiters. Did I spell benefiters right up there, Gage? Well, even if I didn't, don't mark me against that. You watch me talk about football. You don't watch me to spell things on screen. Regardless, Mike Green, Nate Wiggins, and Malachi Starks, I think, are 3 people that are going to benefit massively from Jesse Minter coming in. Look, Kyle Hamilton's going to continue to do Kyle Hamilton things. I expect each and every one of these guys to take massive jumps in their careers. Number 2. He gave an update on the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator search for the Baltimore Ravens. That's been the biggest question mark and the biggest thing we've been covering in the last 7 days since he's been hired. And he gave us a pretty solid update on that. He said both of those searches are going really well. They're very far along, I would say. We're finalizing a few of those pieces. I'm looking for leaders, connectors, relationships builders, and schematic expertise. I'm excited about the people involved in those searches right now. Now, I would expect these to be finalized in the next few days. In fact, I would be pretty surprised if we're sitting here on Monday or on Tuesday and the Baltimore Ravens don't have their offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator moving forward. When he said very far along, that made me automatically think of Davis Webb because he's the only guy that they've had multiple interviews with. They interviewed Cliff Kingsbury once. That was for the head coach position like almost 2 weeks ago. They interviewed Davis Webb for the head coaching position. Then they put in an interview request to interview him again for the offensive coordinator position. They interviewed Declan Doyle, but he's only had one. And so when you say very far along, that makes me think, okay, they've probably had multiple discussions. Davis Webb is the only guy that fits that category. I think the big question when it comes to Davis Webb is, does he go to Baltimore or does he stay in Denver? We discussed this yesterday morning. Sean Payton fired his offensive coordinator. We think possibly to make sure Davis Webb stays on staff. Obviously, he's still waiting to see what goes down with the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching job. It doesn't seem like he's going to get that. It seems like it's Cliff Kingsbury's job to lose. And so if they do not go in the direction, Las Vegas, of Davis Webb, he's going to have to choose. Do I stay on staff with Sean Payton and remain or get a promotion offense coordinator but not call plays? Or does he leave there to finally call plays in Baltimore if he's being offered that job? The cool thing about this search is on the offensive side of the football and defensive side of the football is players are still helping just like they did with the head coach. Eric DeCosta said small group of players met with the candidates as part of the interview process. Some players were in the building, some did it via Zoom. DeCosta also said that players are also involved in coordinator searches. My mind goes to guys like Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, maybe Ronnie Stanley on offense, probably on defense, Roquan Smith, Nnamdi Madubuike, Kyle Hamilton. Those are three on each side of the ball. Again, we talked about these interviews for the offensive coordinator job. I would believe Davis Webb is maybe the leading candidate right now, but if I had to choose one, I think Cliff Kingsbury would be my choice. Not because I believe he's a better offensive mind than both of those guys, but with a first-time head coach who's also calling the plays, I would like to have a coach on staff at the coordinator level who's been there before, who's called plays, who's been a head coach. I just think that'd be a benefit to a very, very young staff. Who do you think is going to be the Ravens offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator? I'm calling you to call your shot down below in the comment section. I think the OC, if I had to put my money on something, OC Davis Webb, DC Steve Klingscale. You let me know down below in the comment section. Number 3, let's talk about play like a Raven. If you guys watched this show any amount of time during this head coaching hiring process, this was something I kept coming back to. This is something that I would say as a positive for a guy like a Brian Flores, like a Robert Saleh, like a Jesse Minter. I also mentioned this as negatives for some guys, like a Mike McDaniel, like a Cliff Kingsbury. Because I believe that one of the most important things about hiring this next head coach for the Baltimore Ravens, the first time you've done that in almost 2 decades, was getting a guy who'd bring play like a Raven back to Baltimore. That was, in my opinion, the most important thing. Because over the last couple of years, that hasn't existed anymore. When Mike McDonald left for Seattle, that mentality left the building with him. You've seen a team in 2024 and 2025 that was physically weak, that wasn't aggressive, wasn't physical. They were mentally weak as well, and I think Jesse Minter's going to bring that back. And one of the big reasons I think that is because he literally mentioned play like a Raven today. When asked about what he wants to be known as, these teams, he says physical, tough, relentless. When teams put the tape on, I want them to see a team that's connected, and that is playing for each other. He went on to say bringing back that play like a Raven mentality. And I think that's the biggest thing that stood out for me in watching the film and watching the tape on Jesse Minter over the last couple of weeks, over the last week or so, is the fact that every single one of his defenses just looks so well coached. They look physical. They communicate well. They look like they're playing as one unit, okay? If you have not yet, check out Cole Jackson's Jesse Minter film breakdown. I thought he did a phenomenal job, and it really shows to you how well coached that Los Angeles Chargers team was this past season. Speaking of Minter, we still got our Minter merch ready for you guys to take advantage of if you go to chatsports.com/Minter. You can get our Minter is coming hoodies. We've also got T-shirts for sale as well if you want something a little bit cheaper and that could last you a little bit longer during the summer. Again, that link is in the comments and description of today's video. Chatsports.com/Minter made it super easy for you. And if you get both of those, you save $10, okay? These things are flying off the shelves. Get yours before you can't get it anymore. Lamar Jackson, how's his relationship with Lamar? Everybody wants to know, myself included. This was a very, very big, how should I say this? This is something that people have been worried about. It's a big worry from people across Ravens fan base. This was something that as soon as Jesse Minter got hired, everybody's like, oh my gosh, Lamar Jackson's going to hate Jesse Minter. Lamar Jackson's going to request a trade, all this stuff. And I personally haven't been one bit worried about Jesse Minter and Lamar Jackson. Multiple reasons. Number one, you saw the relationship that Jesse Minter had with his guys in Los Angeles. Those dudes absolutely loved him, okay? Derwin James, Tony Jefferson, Khalil Mack. Man, they loved playing for Jesse Minter. Joey Bosa. Additionally, they would not have made this hire if Lamar Jackson was, Xing it out. If he was like, dude, no way do I want Jesse Minter to be this next head coach. I'm not saying Lamar's the one that made the final call because I know he's not. But I don't think they would have hired him if Lamar was like, hell no. Jesse Minter, on his relationship with Lamar Jackson, said, look, I had some great talks with Lamar. Really look forward to continuing to build a great relationship with him. He's the best player in the National Football League. It's been proven. He's won the awards to show that. It's our job to continue to help him grow and help him build. To have that guy behind center, you know you have a chance to win every time you take the field. I just can't wait to go to work with him, create a partnership with him, build a team around him that can help us achieve our ultimate job. Look, he's saying the right things. That's the most important thing. And I feel like over the last couple of years, we've asked Lamar Jackson to be Superman a little bit too many times, that when he kind of turns into Clark Kent, like we saw this last year with the injury, this team isn't able to win football games. You want Lamar Jackson to be able to be Superman, but you don't have to rely on Lamar Jackson to be Superman to win you football games. I'm sick of the trade rumors, man. What do you think the percent chance is that he gets traded? 1 to 100 down below in the comment section. I'm putting it like 3%. Okay? I am very, very, very high on the fact that Lamar Jackson's got to be the Ravens quarterback in 2026. Last up, Kyle Hamilton was talked about a lot because Jesse Minter has had the pleasure of coaching a guy like Derwin James and just using him as an absolute weapon. That's exactly how he mentioned Kyle Hamilton. I'm on record and have been on record multiple times saying behind Lamar Jackson, Kyle Hamilton is this team's best player. In fact, with Lamar Jackson dealing with his injuries and his up and down play in 2025, I think Kyle Hamilton was this team's best player this last year. And if I'm Jesse Minter, man, I cannot wait to coach him up. He said Kyle is a weapon. As much as you can do to get Kyle near the point of attack, I think it's what you do as a designer and as a play caller. And what I really, really love about Jesse Minter, right? I mentioned Derwin James. He's had the ability and he has the opportunity to coach a guy like that. And he used him in a very, very similar way as I believe he's going to use Kyle Hamilton. I mean, look at their snap counts. Derwin James, 132 snaps on the defensive line. Kyle Hamilton, 164. In the box, 309 to 355. In the slot, 369 to 298. Outside wide, 21 to 24. Free safety, 162, 128. Their biggest snap difference is in the slot, and that's only like 70 or 60, 71 snaps different. He's already coached a guy like Kyle Hamilton, at least from skill set wise. I think we all would take Kyle Hamilton over Derwin James, but he knows how to use them. He used them in a massive, massive way, very, very impactful. I expect the same for number 14. After this video and after the press conference, man, I got to know what your excitement level is. Scale it for me 1 to 100 down below in the comment section. That's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you guys got me followed on socials. We're going to put this out at like 2 p.m. Eastern time, which means by 2 p.m., we've had 2 videos and a live show at the press conference. Make sure you subscribe and like us.